Welcome, IGA's Army of the Night, to the Bloodstained Community Broadcast. I'm your host, ZombieMike, and with me today from 505 Games, we have Angel-Corlux, also known as Roberto. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, so nice of you.
Real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so nice of you to join. It's been great since you've been in the community, coming on the forums and engaging with everybody on Reddit and everywhere else that you're kind of reaching out to. So we appreciate that you're so active.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll hear this, or at least the theme of this, quite a bit from me, but at the end of the day, I'm still trying to figure out how I ended up here and really just look at myself as a fan. So I just try to do what I would want to be done, if that makes sense, and also keep my job at the same time, though.
Sure. Well, yeah, how did you? We're also kind of wondering about how you came to where you are now. Is that an interesting story? Did you just kind of fall into this, or what happened?
Oh yeah, it's definitely an interesting story, but it would be one that would take way too long. I think I'll just condense it into saying that I was in a very lucrative but boring kind of career path, and then one day, a while back, I was like, wait a minute, my passion is games, and I'm gonna try and work in what my passion is about. And a lot of blood, sweat, and tears later, here I am.
Awesome. So, how long have you been with 505?
Actually, not too long. It's pretty recent. I started in July, so I'm still a pretty recent bringing on sort of onboarded person.
So, is this the first brand that you have owned with 505?
With 505, yes. This is the first kind of flagship thing that I'm taking care of.
Right, so since it's your first, it's obviously going to be like some extra bit of passion. This isn't something you're burned out on doing. This is new for you, and since it's a new IP, this is kind of like your baby now?
Yeah, definitely. And let's just put it this way. I know it's going to sound a bit like a canned response, but that passion would be there regardless if it was my first brand here at 505 or my 27th. It's, every single time, no matter the IP, no matter if it's, Bloodstained or Cooking Mama or whatever, the same kind of excitement and just kind of wonder at being able to have this role is still there.
Hey, I loved Cooking Mama. You can get excited about Cooking Mama. Plus,
same here.
Everyone loves food. How do you feel about Mac&Cheese?
Oh, I love it. I'm actually probably going to be eating it tonight, so...
All right. These are the important questions, people. So what do you think made 505 accept IGA's plan while all others refused, and why other publishers didn't have the faith that we have in him?
Well, I think definitely a factor, if you want to really call it faith, but obviously it's a very kind of complex process for any publisher to take on any game or any IP, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of cogs involved in that kind of formula, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, it's really just a combination of the numbers make sense, or at least enough sense for us, and at the same time a huge amount of we believe in this game, we believe in the creator, we believe in the fan base, and all the amazing, I mean, it's absolutely insane, the response this IP has gotten, that Igarashi-san has gotten. So it's a combination of those two things, trying to, like hopefully we all do in real life, combine the heart with the head, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. When the Kickstarter first, when IGA made that video where he flies away in bats and breaks the wine glass, that was just amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing, yeah.
Yeah, he said that he had backing from another source. He just had to prove interest. So at that point, you guys weren't involved yet. You weren't the one that was agreeing to back him at that point. It was someone else. So how did you guys get involved after that relationship didn't lead to them publishing the game?
Well, both because I wasn't around at that time, and also because, like I said and didn't mention, there's a lot of people that I would have to speak on their behalf on. All I can say is that there's an amazing group of people here at 505 that are constantly trying to get the best IPs out there, so we can do our best to kind of combine the best IPs and game creators with our best publishing efforts and really give everyone something special. So I know it might sound like an unsatisfying answer, but the best I can say is that everyone kind of got along great and did their jobs, and we ended up with this really amazing opportunity.
Right. And do you think that that opportunity for IGA is larger now that 505 is involved? Was there a big gain when he made the switch?
Well, this might sound cheesy, but the way I see it is kind of like when you consider yourself to be lucky in a good marriage, for example. Sure, the each person feels like they're the lucky ones. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
hopefully you combine that to get an end result where you're all living happily ever after.
All right. So, because that because the Kickstarter had to prove interest to a publisher, now that that's out of the way, do you think that the interest has certainly been proven? At the time that it
Yeah.
ended, it was the highest funded Kickstarter for a video game ever. It
Right.
blew the record out of the water. So obviously, there's passionate fans that want a game from IGA. Do you think that a second Bloodstained would also have to be proven through Kickstarter, or do you think that Kickstarter is the right direction to go to continue if Bloodstained gets a sequel?
So I guess the best way I can say that I can respond to that is that Kickstarter is an amazing tool, right? It's not always worked out for every IP that's successfully been funded there, but um, I guess long story made short, ideally, from my personal perspective, I hope not for any eventual future games. And I don't say that because, we don't want to do cool things like physical rewards or whatever. I say that because people may not realize this, but kickstarting a game is an incredibly difficult, laborious process. It's a huge amount of work. It's also a risk. It's just a lot of different kind of moving wheels. And my hope, at least, again, speaking personally, is that my conviction rather is that Bloodstained is going to be such a great success, and fans and new fans alike are going to love it so much that we're going to be able to focus on hopefully making Bloodstained 2 or whatever Igarashi-san's next project and next vision is, and already be ready to do that and ready to focus on making a game, doing everything that we need to do without worrying about funding it, if that makes sense.
Right. So the last time we saw the budget, we knew the Kickstarter goal, and we were told that that it was backed for a certain amount. It was an ambiguous amount, but basically that we kind of met the funding goal, is what Benj had said. That as much as we
Right.
donated in, somebody had already was willing to put that same amount up. So since then, a lot of time has passed. We've had time to gather Slacker backers, people that are interested in donating
Sure.
still today, which they can. They can donate up to the $500 or is it $300? I think it's the $500 tier, and get all of the rewards that come along with that, plus being part of this before it actually comes out. Do you know
I
the
think right
current
now it's
kind of?
actually $500 tier or something.
Yeah, I think you can back up to either the $300 or the $500 tier. Sunraiser and Erica say it's 500. So yeah, they can still get the big huge map, which I'll be looking forward to getting.
Yeah, me too.
But has that number grown? Do you know a current budget number for the game?
So, yes, I do, and yes, it has, but I think that's probably all I can say about that.
That's fair enough. It's good to know that it grew. There was a time where IGA had offered refunds to those who were disappointed in us moving from Wii U to Switch, but we didn't really take that big of a hit, and that's a great thing. I hope that people are excited to get it on the Switch. We have a user that is a big Nintendo fan, Ixbran, and they would like to know kind of what the features going from the Wii U to the Switch. Is there anything being carried over, and can we look forward to Amiibos or anything like that? Some Switch centric functionality.
So that's actually a really interesting question, and on the one hand, I'll answer that by saying that we're currently still working out exactly what's going to carry over, and the other side of that coin is that I'm also personally investigating and working on things that hopefully people will be surprised at and will like, that are specifically Switch related. But since I can't promise anything and I can't spoil anything, unfortunately, that's all I can say.
All right, so no comment on Mii's, no comment on costumes and weapons that are Nintendo inspired?
No comment yet. No comment, but hopefully if things go well and if I'm able to, knock on wood, do my job right, there'll be announcements later on.
Excellent. Well, one of the things I was so excited about when I saw 505 become involved was I love Terraria. My family and I, my daughter, my wife, I, we play together. And we actually even had a Terraria server just for the Bloodstained forums at one time. So we were all building castles and stuff in that. And one of the things that got me really excited is not only are you the publisher for that game, but I would go to like Books A Million and I would see physical merchandise of characters for Terraria in the store. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get some merchandise like that out there in a widespread market.
Yeah, definitely. Again, there's a lot of plans that I'm personally overseeing and drafting and getting approved and everything. All I can say right now, because I still have a lot of work ahead of me, is that, like I mentioned before, I want to see those things too. I want to go out and buy those things too. So just keep an eye out.
All right, so I guess we should get into some more questions from the user base. Earlier,
Sure.
Lee Astaroth was asking about how 505 became involved, and we talked about that. Will Bloodstained be at Gamescom this month?
Well, Bloodstained won't be at Gamescom this month, but we do have event plans planned out.
Okay. I don't know if really you're able to answer more of the game development end of the questions.
It depends on the kind of question, but I'll just quickly, kind of tell you if it's something that's, for someone else or for a later time.
Okay. Well, can you talk about movement speed? Some people feel it's just right. Others think it looks a little slow. I've seen shot-by-shot comparisons right next to Symphony of the Night on one side and Miriam running on the other, and it looks like they're running like the exact same speed. But with the screen size difference, sprite size differences, and kind of the way games play, this stuff can be very important to people. Do you think that that's kind of set in stone where it's at, where we see it now in the videos, or do you think that that's perhaps going to change?
So, two things. It's a really important question because I've seen it quite a bit. Two things about that. The first thing is that we have to be careful to not fall prey, and I do this too, so I'm not, chastising anyone. Fall prey to that tendency to see things either in alpha or in pre-alpha or whatever the case may be, and think that that's going to be, as is for the rest of the development time and what's going to come out. At the same time, what you see, what everyone has seen so far, is just the very tip of the iceberg. We all know and love Symphony of the Night, of course, and the comparisons are very easy and, human nature to make them. But all I can say is that if everyone had seen or, even heard about the things that I get to see and the different abilities and a lot of the stuff that's coming, movement speed, you're not going to be worried about it. Trust me. Let's just say that we're not looking. Igarashi-san isn't looking to just copy Symphony of the Night. He's innovating. He's employing ideas that he's wanted to use all these years, and I'm really confident that people aren't going to be disappointed.
Well, that's exciting to hear. It sounds like he is really pouring everything he can as a creator into this magnum opus of his games.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I know he's probably feeling like he's going to live and die, for this game. This is going to be, his moment. I hope that the pressure doesn't harm the creativity, but he's been under pressure before, and I think it's only going to fuel him. But yes, and Ego we trust. So, Ler, and I think I saw it over in the Twitch. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. I saw it in the Twitch as well. They're asking about if you have any creative input on the work. Will design requests come from 505 Games to the design team?
So the short and sweet answer to that is no. My personal philosophy, the corporate philosophy, anything you want to call it, is Igarashi-san is the game master. He's the one making the pie, so to speak. So let him do what he knows how to do. Sometimes there will be very kind of light touch situations where maybe there's a low dev resource intensive feature that we might think the fans would really like or the fans are asking for, or maybe there's something that statistical data shows that players care more about, whether that's story and design versus competition and things like that. So a lot of those things are fall into the category of things that Igarashi-san and his team already know. Obviously, no one played Symphony of the Night so they could gain a competitive ranking and go into esports, if you know what I mean. But most of the time, and really 99% of the time, it's just Igarashi-san, you do what you're gonna do. We're gonna make sure that everyone and their grandma knows about this game and knows why they should buy it.
All right, so are you just pandering to me because you're making me fall in love with this idea of letting all the creativity remain with Iga? But so is this real talk? You're not just smoozing me up here, right?
This is real talk. I would tell you if I would tell you straight up if there was something that maybe we do, and then I would try and spin it or convince you why it's okay. But it is what it is, and Igarashi-san is doing what he wants to do, and we're just there to make sure that the game is as big of a success as we know it should be.
All right. Well, on the same note, Kayazun asks, as a person involved in publishing, what's your opinion on Metacritic and its effect on video game reviews?
Wow, okay. That's a good question. So I guess I would say that Metacritic is a great tool. It's, an aggregator, something that we can all use to kind of, at a glance, get an idea for how well a game's been received. But at the same time, I would caution people from looking at any review, really, whether it's an aggregate or a single review, and saying, oh, okay, that's the absolute alpha and omega verdict on this game. Because at the end of the day, when the people reviewing the games are human, the people playing them are human, everyone is going to have a subjective experience. I've played games that have been ranked in the 60s and 70s that I thought were maybe not top 10s, but a solid 8 at least. And vice versa. Some people love games that other people hate. So I think it's important to use it and be aware of it as a tool. That it shows you maybe information that helps you how to think, not what to think, if that makes sense.
Well, I am no expert in the video game industry, but I've heard that sometimes critic scores are written into contracts for developers.
Sometimes, like, it's bonuses and all kinds of different clauses and stuff like that.
Yeah, so is there anything that's an incentive for this to do well from the development end?
Absolutely not. We didn't put any kind of limits or barriers or bars for Igarashi-san and his team to meet. Everyone involved, both on the development side and the publisher side, all we care about is making sure that it's as big of a success as possible for the, let's say, the good wholesome reasons, because everyone wants to make more games, everyone wants to be successful and make money, of course, but no one is going to Igarashi-san and saying, you better get an 82 on Metacritic, or otherwise, we're not giving you that puppy or whatever.
Oh, give him the puppy. The man deserves a puppy.
Right.
Okay, so your official title is the brand owner. When speaking of brand ownership, we all like the idea of Iga being in control of the IP. How does brand and IP work between creator and publisher?
Sure. So my official title is the Global Brand Manager, and that means I'm the brand owner for the IP, which basically means I'm the hub for the game between Artplay, between the developer and the publisher. There are going to be lots of people that are working with me from different departments, but at the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that all that comes together and is on point. The IP is thing. It's not, I'm not owning the IP. I'm not telling Igarashi-san, hey, I noticed you don't have hats in this game. TF2 does it, so put in hats.
Hey, we got hats, though. We got to have hats, though. It's part of Miriam's outfit. I mean, she switches her head down.
Yeah,
Already.
you know.
But we're not going to
You know what I mean,
DLC
though.
the hats, though. Okay, I get
Right,
you.
right. Not to like, I'm not gonna call Igarashi-san and say, hey, okay, so loot boxes with keys and put in RNG for him, and like all that stuff. That's not what I'm about. My job is just to basically be the hub, the liaison, and at the same time also coalesce everything, all the efforts, and make sure that whether it's our retail team or our creative teams, and making trailers or everything and anything, kind of making sure that I have my eyes on it, and it's gonna be on point.
Right, and you do listen to fans and make creative requests if they don't like really impact heavily into development. And Chris Levin was asking a question about what kind of ideas you think yield the most value to the player while not demanding an unreasonable amount of development resources. So, like maybe things that players might suggest for the game that would take too long to actually implement, like animations and online multiplayer and stuff. Where do you like? How do you make that decision, and what do you think would be good?
Sure. So it's a hard question to answer, because just like with game development itself, every case is going to be its own. So it really just, I would say, comes down to common sense. If someone, for example, asks, "Hey, why is this a side-scrolling game? It should be a 3D go-kart adventure game," then that's probably going to be in the realm of what's not possible and doesn't make sense. If someone instead says, "Hey, this outfit would be really cool if it had a different color palette or something," that's something obviously on the much easier, more feasible side. So it really just boils down to how much resources it would cost the dev team, and by resources I mean everything: time, all not just money.
Right.
And also what the players get out of it, because if we're going to have to spend an extra, week or whatever, working on a certain feature that was requested, but only, let's say, 5% of the players really care about it or are going to use it or even see it, versus something that might take 2 weeks or even the same amount of time, but everyone and their grandma is going to see it and use it and love it, then it's just kind of a give and take, and weighing your options sort of deal.
Yeah, well, with a game like with an IGA game, it's the little things that people might not see that actually make such an impact on the fandom. You'll have something that you look through this telescope and see a boatman down there, and it absolutely has no value, but it's some interactivity that is valued. Do you think that aesthetics that are more globally visible take priority over the little things like that? To really, what lends to the success? More interactivity or like the visual aesthetics?
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say, I mean, those are, like you said, those are the things that we really tend to look at that make a game be special. Like a game can be good, it can be fun, but all those little things put together, a game great. So we don't really worry about not having those in the game, because Igarashi-san already, that's his style. His attention to detail, his pouring of himself and his vision into the game. I mean, let's just say that without spoiling anything, there's one area that I saw that literally, when I saw the area, you just want to stop and just look at everything, because the actual environment itself, the amount of detail, is just amazing. So to answer your question as far as what's more important, interactivity versus visuals and everything, I'm sorry if this sounds like a generic, PR person, you go answer that question. But in my mind, at least, it's really important to keep a balance of the two, because sure, you can have a super fun game to play, but at the end of the day, if it looks like something from 1985 and runs like something from 1985, then you're probably not going to have the best time that you could. At least you might still enjoy it, but it's not going to be at that kind of masterpiece level that Igarashi-san is trying to hit. So it's really, like a lot of things in life, just important to keep a balance in mind and try to make everything meet that quality bar that Igarashi-san has.
Right, and ultimately in Ego we trust, and I'm sure that if he's not happy with it, he'll stay on it until he is. That's
oh
kind
yeah,
of
definitely.
So Exile wanted to know, will the marketing choose a wide target audience to appeal to everyone, or play more to the Igavania gamers like those who have already backed the game?
So, not to be a meme lord, but why not both?
Why not
Because
both?
in our minds, there's a lot of different audiences, and two of the main audiences are obviously, like you said, the Igavaniacs and the kind of larger audience that you would define in different ways. And we're going to have different targeted efforts for both of those kind of sets of players. And at the end of the day, hopefully, over time, those two different roads will kind of converge after there's been information and time for people to see the videos and, you know, kind of consume media in a different way according to their background and their desires. And hopefully they'll converge onto one single road where we're all Igavaniacs, you know, that mass audience, the people that have kind of been brought out from outside, not even knowing what Castlevania was, not even knowing who Igarashi-san is, to become that kind of sole blob of, you know, Army of the Night.
You just said Igavaniacs. I have not heard that yet. How have I not heard this yet, guys? All right, so Angel has coined the term Igavaniacs. That's what we are. I love it. All right, so more questions from the
that's
fans.
What I put into planning, so, you know.
Winter Dust wants to know, what's your favorite Castlevania sub-weapon?
Oh, geez. I'm biased because I like anything that's related to angels and holy powers and paladins and stuff like that. So for me, it'd be the Bible sub-weapon, just because of that ultimate attack that you get to do, and in some games even has like a huge beam of light that just really decimates everything on screen. So yeah, that'd be the one for me.
Brent, you can speak up. I know you're quite excited about Paladins.
That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Yes.
Yes, Brent and I host a Castlevania Ravenloft D&D game, and his character is a Paladin. So I'm sure you just...
And I have several Castlevania sub-weapons I like to use, and spells made after Sypha's holy spells and all this other crap. And yeah, I put one of my first posts on the forums was that I really hoped that the holy sub-weapons would come back in a Castlevania somehow. And I even got that question put on the Ask Ega video, where I have the dagger shoot out of my eyes that Fangamer Steve put on there. So yeah, that was me.
Is Angel more Paladin than you? What's your favorite sub-weapon, Brent?
Probably it's a tie between the holy water and the cross.
There you go. All right, yeah. So I would say good choices all around. And Winter Dust also wanted to know, sword or whip.
Oh geez, so probably gonna upset a few people here, but definitely sword, just because I always loved swords ever since I was a kid. Actually learned how to use them and even have one. So. You know, I'm not in the backyard cutting water bottles and trying to look like Deadpool or anything, but definitely sword.
Hey, we've all cut a few water bottles with swords, haven't we? No, we haven't. But I don't think that will upset the majority, since the sword won in the whole swordorwhip.com vote. And it was decided that the sword kind of took over, and that was Alucard's main weapon. Oh, wow. So it's okay. I love whips too, though. Why not both? Again.
Exactly.
Right. So Mad Pony says, what was your favorite aspect of Symphony of the Night? Can you tell us your favorite aspect of Bloodstained?
Sure. So for Symphony of the Night, I would have to say that it was the first time playing a 2D game that really immersed me in the character and the feel of the world. I don't know maybe because of how Alucard moves and how he's just, you know, steeped in this dark gothic fantasy, but it really made me feel like I was playing, that I was, you know, the son of Dracula, you know, the son of the biggest monster in the world and the most evil monster in the world. So it was just that kind of, you know, being immersed in that setting, in that, you know, the gameplay and the combat and how he moved. As far as Bloodstained, there's so much that I wish I could choose from, but I'll stick to things that are publicly available right now. So I'll just say Miriam, because I'm a big fan of female protagonists that have like a really rich story and really kind of just loving craftsmanship put into them. and everything about her just makes me go crazy. Not only, you know, how she looks and you know how she moves in the game and everything, but even if you look at her art or even just in the game itself, she has this really amazing look where she looks sad but angry and superior at the same time when she's I don't know, it's hopefully it doesn't sound cheesy, but it's just something I really like, especially because in most games when I'm given the choice I just default to male in role-playing games, for example. So I love, you know, when I get to play a great female protagonist like Miriam or Aurora from Child of Light, if anyone's played that, or you know, and any great protagonist like that. The new Lara Croft is, you know, amazing. So
speaking of Child of Light, Yoshitaka Amano did a poster for that game, and he's doing one for Bloodstained as well. Yoshitaka Amano is one of my favorite Japanese artists, one of my favorite artists of all time, actually. But you mentioned that how Alucard moved was important to you, and Mojojo and AQ Official were asking questions kind of in that vein about how the characters often like glide before they step or after turning. And, you know, that's important to them. AQ Official says, will Miriam have unique animations for lunging as you first move forward, change direction, and double jumping?
So, I can say that there's going to be a lot of unique things when it comes to Miriam and how she moves and she gets around the level and how she's animated. I haven't really found out or even asked about the question about gliding. But I can definitely add that to my list of things to ask Igarashi-san directly and be like, hey, you know, little birdie asked me about this. What do you think?
Cool. All right. Well, Molinowski asks, what has been learned from Mighty Number 9?
Mostly how important it is to communicate honestly and clearly and often with the fan base and with everyone really involved. I will say one thing that I haven't practiced or, you know, anything like that, so hopefully it doesn't sound like it, but it does come up a lot because people have obviously had bad experiences on Kickstarter with other IPs. But all I can say to that is that at the end of the day, there's a completely different IP here when we're talking about Bloodstained, completely different development team, completely different everythent. So
yeah, different publishers.
I would just invite people.
Everything.
Yeah.
So
everything is different. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they get compared a lot because they're both Kickstarter games, and maybe they had some previous staff that was involved more so in the past than they do today. But really, when you have a different, you know, art team, different development team, different creative team and directing team, Inti Creates is less involved now. They were a common thread, but now they're really just focusing on the prequel game.
Right.
You know, all the music's different. I mean, is there anything that's really the same other than their love letters to previous games, and they were both Kickstarter successtained? I don't think
that's a good point.
I don't think they really have anything else in common. They're both 2.5D, but Bloodstained already looks like a completely different style of game and mechanics than that other game. So, moving on. Dr. Yupio or Drupio says, are you planning to use the speedrunning community to promote the game? And we've already kind of seen that in the past. ROM Scout was part of the original Kickstarter. He speedrunned. I don't know how do you say that in the past tense. Well, right in front of Iga on the couch, he speedruns the game. And, you know, he actually went with Iga to E3 and met back up with him. So we already have kind of ROM Scout helping us promote the game. But as far as the future goes, do we have any planned promotions with speedrunners?
So at the moment, no. We don't have, you know, like concrete plans saying we will do this at this date and all that. But it's definitely part of my, you know, what I want to do plan. Let's just call it that. That's not what I call it, you know, at work, but I'm just, you know, being informal here. It's one of the many things that we're looking to integrate into our marketing and even just the overall experience for our fans, because we know I'm not part of that community because I would just suck so bad at trying to speedrun, but there's a lot of people that either are good at it or love it, so we definitely want to, it's part of the heritage, it's part of the what makes the IP great, what makes Igavaniacs happy, so it's definitely something that I have my eye on.
All right, cool. So I'm Repairman Man? I'm Repairman Man. That sounds like a great superhero. He's Repairman Man. I guess he was dropped into a cave full of repairmen and came out with a whole new secret identity. But he asked, what happened to the monthly updates?
So I'm assuming he's talking about the Kickstarter monthly updates.
Yes.
To answer that, I can say that everyone will be very relieved and happy to know that we're focusing on updating people as often and as necessary as possible, because we don't want to just kind of bleed out information until it just becomes noise. But at the same time, we basically hunkered down and focused on development and getting everything kind of set in a row, if you want to use that expression. So updates from Kickstarter kind of took a bit of a back burner second seat, but we're definitely going to be communicating a lot more. Everything you see here, me on the podcast, integrating or interacting with the social platforms and everyone online, that's literally the very tip of the iceberg. There's so much coming.
Excellent. That's such great news. Luke Westmoreland asks, will Amiibo support be considered for the Switch version, which we kind of already talked about, but he also wants to know, is there a possibility of any further indie game characters cameos beyond Shovel Knight? Like, it would be cool to see like Shantae or somebody also thrown in there somehow.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. That does sound cool. That's so strange. That's interesting.
What other 505 games have something that might mesh well, in your opinion, with Bloodstained?
I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of a few that would possibly. No, I don't think. I mean, there was some other game that people really cared about. I can't remember what it's called now, but. It's Independence. I don't know. I'll think of it later. I'm sure we'll see what's possible.
Excellent. Okay, so Castle Dan
Yes.
has questions, and Castle Dan's here. Hi Dan. I see you there in chat. He says, "Are Morte the replacement for skeletons?"
Very good question, and I get that a lot. And you'll have to forgive me because I can't give you an answer.
Okay.
But it will eventually, or we will rather eventually.
Okay. Well,
we know it's something that's important. Let's just put it that way.
All right. Well, Castle Dan just wanted to nudge you to nudge the development team to either make Morte a little bit more skeletal quality or have skeletons. But he also wants to know, like, do weapons and special spells have button input codes? We've heard it confirmed before, but we still just want to make sure it's right. That we will be able to do.
That's actually something I don't have visibility on at the moment, but I can definitely add that to the list I was talking about, and it's something that I'm going to be briefed on very soon anyway. So, but if it's been confirmed, I'm sure the general rule to follow, at least with us in this game, is that if something has been confirmed, unless we've come out publicly and officially saying, sorry, we weren't able to deliver on this, and this is the reason why. I know it's human nature to worry about things, but unless that's happened, there's no reason to worry.
All right. Well, you guys can pin that on me if I'm wrong. I thought that it was confirmed, and I still do. I thought I heard that during a Twitch stream somewhere in the E3 interviews, I believe. But there's a great spot on the forums to go and check. It's called External Articles, and there's a lot of stuff posted in there you can dig through to find that kind of stuff. Recording, what information we find in there should be a priority, too. That way we don't have to scratch our heads about where we heard things. But anyways, onward. Castle Dan had more questions. In terms of the alpha, how much will the alpha be showing off of the game?
So that's actually something that we're in the process of locking down right now. So I wish I could say, it'll be X amount or X percentage of the game, but we're literally doing that right now. So when I respond to some people online who are, very anxious, just like we all are, to play the alpha, and they ask where it is, and I just post soon, that's because it's soon.
All right. So, are there transformations in the game?
Oh boy, no comment.
All right. Will the familiars have more personality like they did in Symphony of the Night, or are they going to just be more like enemies that just kind of hover around, no voice acting?
So that's actually something else that we're going to be working on next week with our play. So unfortunately, it's bad timing as far as answering it right now, but we'll definitely be able to answer that pretty soon.
All right. Boval asks, has a level cap been decided? And the first demo, we saw a limit of 255 because Leo Wolferow, they played it to that point. They got it max leveled. It was amazing.
Well, that's definitely a question for Igarashi-san himself. He's him and his team are, it's one of those dev things that, like I mentioned before, and this is proof of me not, I don't want to wade in there and say this is what they're going to do or what they should do. It's just for him.
Crocodile says transformations all in Knights of Azure are way better than just turning into enemies. So, their message delivered. I'm not sure I've played Knights of Azure. Sorry.
I have to look it up. Yeah, I don't think I'm familiar.
Okay. Well, we got to get schooled. One Salinas Jr. says, will there be an option to turn off the animation for when Miriam gets a new shard?
So there's actually a lot of work being done with that right now, and since we know it's going to be an integral and kind of staple of the game, it's an integral part of the game, we're and hopefully quite soon we'll be able to make a few announcements that'll make more people happy, because there's been a few questions about that. People asking, will we seeing different animations, will we be able to turn it off, or will there be different sound effects for Miriam Scream? And all I can say right now is that it's something that they're in the process of implementing in the game. So again, another question for Igarashi-san and his team.
Okay. Dan from Umbrella. Now, they say they're Dan from Umbrella, but this sounds like a Castle Dan question to me. Coincidence? I think not. This may be shenanigans. I'm just kidding, Dan. They ask, are there any shields in the game? We've previously been told that there are no shields.
Now, as of this moment, I haven't seen any shields, and if like I said before, what's been confirmed unless it's been disproven, it's good to stick to that. I love shields just as much as the next guy. Big Dark Souls fan here, but we will definitely telling people if that changes, though.
All right, so we are going to want to recruit you on our special team here, the Goofball Defense Force. Okay. Would you please join the Goofball Defense Force?
So I am very aware of the Goofball Defense Force, and yes, thank you, Enkeria. So I'm going to have to say no, but don't despair. I have to say no for a very good reason. If I join it, it's going to make me hard to advocate for it. So I'm not joining it so I can advocate for everyone that wants our lovable goofball somewhere in the game and as much of a presence as possible. So that's my answer.
Yeah, Brent says that he's gathering great questions from chat, and I've seen a few too. I've got some questions that were previously asked on the forums I'd like to get through, but Brent, if you wouldn't mind holding on to those and reading those when I get through a few more of these. We were talking about alpha access earlier, and let's see, Leviathan was asking what the status is of backer access to the alpha.
By status, you mean when is it coming, or like?
Right. Yeah. Like when is that going to happen?
All right. Well, I really wish I could just give an announcement right now. Trust me, it's like constant struggle for me not to spoil things. But when the
We'll
alpha
keep it a
is
secret.
coming,
It's just between us.
yeah, just between us and our cozy little few hundred people listening on Twitch and Discord. Uh, no, an announcement, like I mentioned before, how we're going to be ramping up communication. People are going to be having an announcement on that very soon.
Awesome. Very soon. Very, very soon. In a matter of days or months. I'm just kidding. Weeks, maybe. No, I'm just.
I'm sorry, you were cracking up there. I couldn't hear you.
Right. Yeah, it happens. Let's see.
Yeah.
What else did Leviathan want? For buyers who purchase a physical copy of the game, do you know what kind of box art we might expect? Are backers limited to, or are backers the only one that get the Ayami Kojima art? I think so. But
one of the rewards is the kind of exclusive, quote unquote, but that's something else that, since we know how high of a quality level that art is, and how everyone is looking forward to it, we're basically trying to straddle that line, that balance of not keeping things a secret too long, but also revealing them and making sure that everyone, or at least as many people as possible, are aware when we use it as an announcement, as something to talk about.
I see. Okay, well, that's an interesting question. I really like the answer. Let's see. Xbrand, I've already gone over the Nintendo stuff. Andre asks, when will the game be available for pre-order on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam?
It's something that's obviously going to happen a little bit later on, though. Probably nearer to when you could expect some trailers to start dropping, and real kind of broadband visibility, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's going to happen. Just don't expect it, tomorrow.
I see. All right, so Trick, good member of our forums there, says, welcome, Angel. My question is, what type and quality of material can we expect for the physical items? For example, would the map be made of parchment or cloth, or would it be designed in a way that feels authentic to the era the game takes place in?
Sure, that's a really great question, and all I can tell you right now is that I'm working with Fangamer. They're really great people, because we're going to make sure that all of the quality levels, all of the items that have certain materials, that it's all on point. Not only because, but I'm selfish in this, because I backed the game just like everyone else. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I was at one of the higher levels, and I'm looking forward to my merch, and I want it to be good.
Right. Were you aware of Bloodstained when it was first being kickstarted, or did you come in later?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was, I was one of the many people that discovered the Bloodstained brand when it first went out live on Kickstarter. Saw the video. I was aware of Igarashi-san before that because of Symphony of the Night and everything, but never really. And everything, so it was definitely an experience watching that video.
Awesome, dude. I am so glad that you were an early backer and didn't just come in and be like, okay, Bloodstained's now my job, and then back at that point. That was personally important to me. I know it's kind of snobby, but you're doing a great job either way, no matter if that was true or not. But it just adds an extra little bit of, wow, this guy is really a fan. So I'm sure we're all excited to learn that, I hope. So Ray Soul says, considering that the special backer version of the game, The Alchemist's Treasure, has a slipcase designed by Ayami Kojima, is it possible that we also get a poster of Ayami's art? I know that the collector box includes an Amano poster, but I really want Ayami's poster for the wall. And Brent agrees. Yeah, that would be cool, man. I would definitely shell out some extra cash to get a poster of that.
Yeah, you and me both. Well, the way I can answer that is by saying that right now all the backer awards are basically locked in. But like I mentioned before, I kind of alluded to this, there are a lot of plans right now in the works for different kinds of merchandise, different kinds of swag, whatever you want to call it. and literally nothing is off the table, and it's just, at the very early stages right now. So I can't say yes. I can't say, happy to tell you yes, but I can say that it's not a no.
Awesome. Yeah, and let's see who said that in the chat. Somebody mentioned the ring. Someone mentioned the ring, and I'm thinking a handcrafted ring that Iga would make would be amazing to own. But I would also just like the cheap-ass version that was made from a mold from something that he can't handcrafted. If they were to sell that, I would definitely buy one of those too. Even if it's not handcrafted. It's a ring that Iga had designed. I would love to do that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's interesting.
Brent asks, what category of thing that you can't talk about? Do you want to continue from there? I'll let you grab that question, Brent.
Oh, geez. Wow.
What do you mean? Wow, are you already scared?
Brent's trying to torture me. He's trying to interrogate me. I see how it is.
Well, you signed up for this, buddy.
Yeah.
So my question was going to be, it's kind of a leading question, as you'll be able to tell pretty soon. But basically, what category of thing, what genre of piece of Bloodstained are you most excited to tell us about, but you can't quite cover it yet? Like just a general thing, like if it's music, if it's a feature, if it's a character, what the broad category of thing do you really want to shell out, but you can't quite do it yet?
Okay, that's easier. That's I was expecting it to be much worse. I guess I'll be selfish and answer that from a personal perspective. So one of the biggest things I love are the weapons, the items, the things that you really kind of use to customize not only the way you play, but also the way you look in the game. And that's true for me in most RPGs. Most games have some level of customization. And when I take a look at the weapons that are in the game, and especially some of the things that fit more my personal tastes, whether that be because you like a holy weapon or an ice weapon or a fire weapon or whatever may be your case. Those are the things that just make me kind of like Homer Simpson drool, if you know what I mean, and I want to just be like, oops, did I accidentally copy that to Twitter? Oh, my bad. But yeah, it's definitely weapons, items, anything and everything that customizes Miriam and the experience, because it's just mind blowing. Like, I love 2D games like Child of Light, like I've talked about, and Ori and the Blind Forest, and all the great ones. But the level of customization in Bloodstained is just beautiful, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm a sword man myself. I know you mentioned those earlier, and I actually collect sharp swords myself. So I'm one of those weird,
nice.
I haven't cut any bottles yet, but I always wanted to. But yeah.
Well, be sure to get it on film, Brent, if you ever decide to chop water bottles in half in your backyard with your swords. I want to see that.
Hey, but there's already the video of me using the umbrella as a rapier when I submitted that to the Vine contest. So
I know, and now Vine's
that's already
gone.
out there.
But it lives within my heart, your video of the umbrella attack. All right, so Enkeria Jin has a slew of great questions. How does the Bloodstained team connect when they are in different teams in different locations?
So we have this big booth, and people go in, and there's this big bright light, and you hear a bit of a scream, but then you just appear on the other side of the ocean, and you're at the art play studio, and it's pretty simple.
Oh, so it's not just me that travels around like that. All right. Also,
no, I'm just kidding. The real answer is that there's a lot of boring, not nearly as exciting answers like Skype and video conferencing and emails and phone calls, and we're all kind of, even though we're working together, we're all treating each other like we're just friends hanging out in the sense of, hey, call me whenever you need to or write to me whenever you need to.
All right. Enkeria, you had a screenshot comparison that you wanted to bring up. If you're there and you can paste that now, that would be great. But basically, he says that he's noticed that the inside church area, early concept screenshots from IGN have a blue glowing lights in the background windows, and in the E3 2017 demo, it had changed. Why, and will they be elsewhere?
Sure. So this is one of those things that I get to give a very satisfying answer to, or at least an almost very satisfying answer. I saw this on the forums, and myself, being just as much looking forward to the game as anyone else, I really like that cool effect in the background with the blue lights and the windows and everything. So I went to my producer, who is, great guy, knows his stuff, and I said, hey, what happened? What's this about? Is it going to be final or what have you? And basically, long story short, we're going to be talking to Artplay very soon, next week, and we talk to Artplay every day, but you know what I mean, like working more intensively. And this is going to be one of the things that we bring up and just, see what the situation is. And we're very confident that it's one of those cases where we're still in pre-alpha, the building and creation phase of the game. And lighting, for as difficult and complicated as it is one of those things that you want to try and make sure is universally applied, right? You don't want to put it on a work in progress and call that your final lighting pass, and then add things to that work in progress that change the lighting, that change the effects. So we're confident that it's still a work in progress, and we'll have some better news and more specific news to give. But the satisfying part of the answer is that I care about that just as much as Enkeria, and it's something that I'm going to be speaking with my producer to the team about.
Excellent, man. Great answer. I just saw a question that Retro Nutcase asked about the way you can do attack cancels and stuff to attack faster and do speedrunning tricks and stuff with. And you should look at ROM Scout's input on that, as I think he's the record holder for Symphony of the Night speedruns, and he was very pleased with the mechanics of Bloodstained. So there are previous videos on that you can find on the forums. But to continue with Enkeria's questions, what's your favorite environment thus far?
Oh, wow. Well, I wish I could talk about things that haven't been shown yet, but I'll just say that out of the things that have been public so far, it'll probably be the church area, just because it gives that, traditional Gothic cathedral kind of vibe. But yeah, there's a lot of areas, and a lot of areas that you will probably be surprised at, hopefully.
All right.
Mike, just to interject a little bit there with Retro Nutcase's question.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wasn't talking about speedrun tricks as far as going faster. He's referring to sequence breaks and like using tricks to get further when you're not really supposed to in soft locks versus hard locks. So the later games in the Igavanias kind of got rid of those. So he's talking about
glitching out, like glitching through walls and stuff like that. Is that more along the lines?
So he's wondering how hard like the game is going to be as far as how tough it locks out those tricks where you use certain mechanics, certain abilities to get further than you normally would, because the later Igavanias kind of did away with that some.
Huh. Well, I would assume, but I can't really speak on that. So that's probably one of the things that we're only going to be able to find once the final version's out there and we try to break it.
Yeah, probably.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
we
probably just
answer this question.
We probably just don't know yet.
Right. Enkeria asks, will save rooms be multi-purpose, or there are a lot of there's lots of fun ideas we have about how we can use them in other ways?
Yes, I am definitely aware of those ideas. I wish I could answer that, but it's not my place, so I'll just leave that question to Igarashi-san and his team.
Is there any word on if Bloodstained will allow modding, maybe even a Steam workshop?
Wow. Mods, huh? What are those?
So this is a question I personally have a lot of investment in. I think that modding can extend the life of a game by, leaps and bounds. So when the demo came out, we were able to unpack all of the assets and then change them and repack them. Those kinds of things are awesome, and we hope that is going to be left the way it was in that demo. So if that at least is the same, I'll be satisfied. But having stuff like a supported Steam Workshop and stuff like that, I don't quite have those expectations, and I wouldn't expect that because they need to focus on other things.
So all I'll say is that I have always loved mods. I've made tons of mods for certain games in the past, and everyone should look forward to news in the future about the Bloodstained game.
I love that answer. Thank you, sir. Oh my god. Okay. Can you confirm angelic and demonic costumes for Miriam?
Oh boy. Okay, so like I mentioned, I love everything and anything angelic or holy warrior in games, so I can't confirm them, but I can tell you that when I'm going to be talking with Igarashi-san, if it's not in the game, it's going to be the one thing I ask him for. I'm going to be like, Igarashi-san, I'm not going to ask you for anything else. I'll do whatever you want. I'll go get your laundry. But I'm going to be advocating for an angelic outfit or, halo accessory, whatever you want to call it. And to be fair to those who, like the demonic look instead, and makes sense anyway, for there to be that counterpart. So I can't confirm it, but you can rest assured that I'll be asking for it.
Enkeria also talks about the drops in games seem to be bags instead of actually dropping the weapons or items that they're dropping. Is that final, or is that just work in progress stuff?
Sure, that's probably a question best for the development team, but just speaking from a personal standpoint, it's probably just a matter of keeping the game clean, if that makes sense. In the sense that it's one thing to have bags on the floor and you're picking up items and then but it's another thing to have the Borderlands effects where where you have just a bunch of stuff on the ground and you don't know what you're looking at, and not to mention, I'm sure that making a little object representation of then the item that you're using is just extra work. But like I said, it's a question for the dev team. I'm just really speculating at that point.
All right, fair enough. Let's see what else we got. Crafting and forging. Those systems are completely unknown to us. Is there anything you can give us on that, or will there be news coming?
Oh man, I wish I could talk about it now. All I can say is that I've seen the rumors, I've seen the concerns, TM, people wondering about whether or not it was still in the game. And like I mentioned before, it's something that's been confirmed. We've never talked about taking it out or it not being available, so crafting is definitely in the game. There's going to be a lot of amazing things you can make and create, and even a lot of things that might not be amazing looking, but are along the lines of the things that we were talking about, like those small, cool little things that make a game special. So yeah, keep an eye out, because there's going to be some things to devour and drool over.
Like wall meat or wall mac?
Wall meat. I'm not familiar with that concept. I don't think. Are you sure that's something that's been in an Igarashi game? I don't think so.
Right. I think they have. But we would settle for mac and cheese since we know Iga loves it so much, and that's a new discovery for him. Will the retro style area in the main game be the same sprites used in the prequel?
Oh wow, that's definitely a question for the dev team. I'm not exactly sure if they're exactly the same. I know that they share similar styles and are going to be visually kind of representative of each other, but I don't want to be a liar, so I'll just let the dev team handle that one.
Are there any mold goals or anything in the Kickstarter that has been cut so far?
I'm sorry, you said, are there any what?
Any of the stretch goals and the modes, did we overshoot with those, or has any of that been cut, or can we still expect everything that was approved during the Kickstarter?
Oh yeah, definitely. Nothing has been cut. Everything is on its way, being worked on, some nice and smooth. Sorry if that sounds like PR speak, but yeah, nothing's been cut.
New Game Plus, are we going to be able to continue with our items, or does it start over without the items?
That's something else. That's one of the first questions I started looking into, just because it's one of those details that comes in at relatively a later time, because it's kind of the flip of the switch sort of thing from a development standpoint. Mm-hmm. So I don't have an answer on that yet, but I will soon.
All right. Can you play co-op with one Steam version together with a GOG version, or maybe PS Vita and PS4, cross-platforming Xbox One and PS4? Do we know
For
any of
PC,
that?
there won't be any kind of problems. You won't have any kind of restrictions of, oh, I have a Steam copy, you have a GOG copy, As far as cross-platform and everything like that, I wish I could talk about things, but you'll be hearing the answer soon.
Excellent.
Let's put it that way. You won't have to wait until the launch trailer.
Awesome. Can you give us information about the prequel in terms of how far into development that's reached? And is that coming out before or after the main game?
Sure. So I can answer the first part of that question. The development is, pretty much on schedule, and nothing's really out of the ordinary, so to speak. As far as when it's coming out, especially in terms of compared to Bloodstained and all that, again, that's one of those things that you're going to get a nice flashy announcement for.
Awesome. All right, we're almost done with Enkeria's questions. Only 2 more left, and then we can open it up to all these great questions I'm seeing in the Discord and the Twitch streams. Will familiars be...
I got one myself.
Will familiars be limited to the blue color versions we see of the monsters encountered in the game?
Oh boy. Well, let's just file that under it's not my place to spoil. And once people get their hands on some media that's coming their way, that question will be answered.
All right. That sounds like a no, it's not limited. I'm just going to go out on a limb for that one. Does Iga's biggest castle mean just the castle, or is the village and the ship included in that?
So by the Iga's biggest castle, it's the castle itself. If you want to limit it just to the castle, is going to be enormous. But it's definitely kind of like the entire game sort of thing, and the entire game is basically going to be the biggest game he's done in that sort of sense, in size and scope for this genre.
All right. So with that, Brent, if you want to start pulling questions from the different chats and asking them to Angel, that would be awesome. And I'll start looking at some myself.
Yeah, I've already put several from the Discord into a text document, just kind of ad hoc here. But
in that case, I won't interject. You just keep them coming then.
All right, cool. So the first one I got actually was from Gunlord himself, and who's one of our mods and a great guy, and from the Castlevania dungeon, Smoop.
Smoop.
So it's Smoop. All right. So first thing from Gunlord is, do you know much about Bloodstained's budget situation? A lot of my friends are worried about how much it costs to get Deco on board. So I was wondering if you could talk a bit about that. How does the situation look in terms of money and time to completion?
Sure. So I can't talk about actual numbers, of course, but I can answer that question by saying yes, I am totally aware and apprised of all those numbers. And everyone, no matter if you've backed it at the minimum or the maximum, no one has worry or cause for worry. We're on track, we're on schedule, we're supporting the game as much as it needs to be supported, and constantly looking at new ways to support it, not only here in the US but globally. So I don't want to sound like Daddy Warbucks or anything, but we are 100% behind the game, and no one's worried about running out of money or not making it on time or not being able to deliver the game. So none of our fans should be worried either.
That's great news, because historically budget has been a limiting factor for Iga, because he only had what he had from Konami, and he had a really tight development schedule too. Only a year, I believe, for Portrait of Ruin. So that's pretty rough. But now he has these resources and this awesome facilitating factors like the community we have, like you guys, and just the awesome people involved. Just everyone is great. So next question from Gunlord is regarding Mana. We haven't talked about her yet. Is she still the communications manager?
Yeah, so Mana's technically still the communications manager. She's just been kind of taking on so many greater and greater responsibilities that with me coming on board, I never looked to replace her or supplant her or anything like that. It's always been kind of a let me help you out since you're doing all this amazing stuff and helping out with really important things for the game development. and just kind of continue the great work that she's been doing, and yeah, just kind of plug some holes, so to speak.
All right, excellent. That's good to hear. And we have put 2 and 2 together in the past, and we have kind of an inkling that she might be working on the backer portraits for the game. So everyone can look forward to that.
Talking about, Mana definitely is not an amazing artist, and I definitely did not stare at her art for more than I should have. So yeah.
Yeah, I found her art on DeviantArt, her account and her website, just by accident, because we needed to email her money to buy the team donuts, and I just looked at the domain name of her email address. I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And it was her website, and the art blew me away, and I had to make a thread about it immediately, because she's done all this art for games that I'm a huge fan of, because I'm a big Valkyrie Profile fan. That's what my name is from, and she's done characters from that, and that's really obscure, so it just blew me away.
Yeah.
But
it was so impressive to me that I took a very kind of meh approach and didn't care about appearing like a creep when I sent her a LinkedIn request when I literally had just joined the company. I was like, hey, this is Roberto. I'm, the new guy and going to be working with you. By the way, I love your art and it's amazing. And oh my God, how can you make such amazing art?
Yeah, basically, and she was inspired by Yami Kojima herself, so it's really cool to me that she's like kind of grassroots. She was a fan, and now she's getting involved with the project, so she's like one of us, and she's working with IGA in the art avenue, and being a fan of Yami Kojima is just amazing. So let me not gush too much here. We're going to go on to the next question. So Sunraiser asks, what are the food items like? Will we get as many as we had in Symphony?
Oh wow. Let's just say that people are going to be very happy when they see what food is in the game and how you get the food and what effects it has. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be such a tease, but yeah, it's going to be great.
That's what I expected. Good to hear. All right. So going on, we're going to have Crocodile ask a few questions here. And first of all, he's wondering about the bell in the E3 build from this past year.
Oh my God, jeez, you stole it from me. That was gonna be my one. This is proof that I'm not a sellout, and I'm gonna confront the bad questions, or not the bad questions, the uncomfortable questions. But anyway, go ahead.
I mean, the way I wrote it out in my text document was just the bell, LOL.
I love it. Yes, that's great.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I am aware. It was one of the first things I saw on the forums and from the gameplay videos. Let's just say that you are not offending me. You're not offending anyone on the dev team, I'm sure. We want to hear that from fans. So if you, not only the bell, but even in the future, if you ever see something within reason, please don't tear us to shreds. We're all humans with feelings and hearts. But we are aware, and Igarashi-san, like I mentioned, has an insanely high quality bar, and I mean that in a good way, not the bad way. And he's not going to sign off on things if that quality bar isn't met. So I am aware of the bell. I've seen the bell. I think it's awesome because it kind of hints at things to come. ... But yeah, you can expect improvements.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that, it was like almost clearly to me like a placeholder thing. I didn't intend that.
Sure.
Like, I didn't see it as a final asset or anything. So I don't think it's even mean really to pick on it, because it was kind of like, okay, that's just there for now. But
one of those things that kind of stands out because it's so big and interactive in the environment and everything. But it's normal to worry about it, but I would say don't worry.
All right. So next thing is, this is an interesting question. This was actually a while back. I think it was 2016. But we had a poll on the forum regarding castle design and different regions for the castle. Do you have any? Do you know of any influence that might have had if they talked about that? I'm sure Mana brought it up a few times with the team, but you know of any influence that poll we had on the game?
So I haven't spoken specifically to the team about that poll and what decisions they made because of it, but I know, just because it's something that we talk about at fan feedback and call outs on the forums and anywhere really online, all of that gets funneled to the team, obviously in a condensed, summarized format. We don't just dump 200 pages of printouts on Igarashi-san's desk. But I would be lying if I said, oh yeah, that specific thing, I know that we talked about that. But just logic would dictate that it had an effect and that they listened and took that into consideration. Not to say that Igarashi-san decided to change everything according to that poll, because I'm sure everyone is aware Igarashi-san is very open and attentive to fans and concerns and everything, but at the end of the day, he's going to incorporate that and take it into consideration rather than just have a knee-jerk reaction and say, oh, well, you know, such and such many people didn't like that, so it must be horrible, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I remember we worked on that poll. It was a big project for the forum. We had to like aggregate a lot of data. We had to put a lot of things in motion to get that working, and it was really fun. And we initially planned on doing a lot of that kind of thing, but it was so much on the mod team and so much on the members that we didn't do another one. But I'm pretty sure that that it at least got to Vanna, and she told us back in the day that she would bring these things up to the team. She would actually pull up threads and like have Iga like over her shoulder and like point at things on the screen and like, you know, show him threads and stuff. So.
Yeah, well, a lot of people might not know this about, because, you know, a lot of things about the game industry are kind of nebulous, but that's part of what community managers do. Part of their job is basically aggregating and summarizing the biggest concerns and hopes and wishes of the player base and presenting them in a clear, concise way to the dev team and saying, hey, these are the biggest issues and worries, or the biggest things that players are hoping for. So if you know, I'm not aware of that poll specifically, but if from what it sounds like, I'm definitely sure that they talked about it.
Well, we have a certain section of the forums just dedicated to game suggestions and feedback, and it's very organized, and we moderate it in a very different way.
You're going out some, Mike.
Yeah, if we can utilize the parts on the forums that were made specifically for the user feedback stuff, there's a lot we can do with that. So if that helps you, just let us know how you want us to see it used, and we can format it in a way that condenses it in a easily funneled way. So that is a tool available to you.
Yeah, definitely. The suggestion section on the forum is really great. It was really fun the first time I read through that. But yeah, we can definitely take a look at that and see how we can kind of summarize it and condense it already before we even present it and bring it up to the team.
All right, so I've got some more here. Next is from Lesteroth. This is from earlier. He forgot to ask if there would be any steampunk elements in Bloodstained. And for one thing, I know that there's a plague mask. I remember that at least.
Yeah, I wish I could answer a question like that, but unfortunately, that's really going to the core of what's going to be in the game. So I'm going to leave that until another time when Igarashi-san and his team want to talk about something.
All right. One more from Crocodile from earlier. What happened to the starfish enemies from the very first prototype of the game? They seemed like they were going to be the Medusa heads of the game, but then they got replaced by the Dellahammer heads. You know anything about little starfish guys?
No, unfortunately I don't. That's something I can definitely add to my list, though, because that's definitely a developer side question. And when I say I'm adding that to my list, I don't mean to, you know, let anyone feel like they're being PR'd or whatever. I have an actual list of things that I'm writing down and noting down, and you know, we'll actually be going over with the dev team, and we do that regularly. So, you know.
Okay, so I just have 3 more here, at least for now. One more from Sunraiser. Will there be an empty room like in Harmony of Dissonance where we have to gather or we can gather furniture and play interior designer and make it look pretty? I don't know if you played that game or not, but Juiced Belmont could find random pieces of furniture in the castle and make his own little room, kind of like how we had a big thread about Miriam's room earlier, where it would make sense for Jeeple to have a room for Miriam in the castle. So we're wondering about that.
Right. Well, oh geez, it's funny just because a lot of the questions that you're asking me very innocently are a lot harder to resist spoiling things than the question that you gave me specifically trying to spoil things. All I'll say is that there's going to be a lot of things regarding customization and really letting the player express themselves with how they play and how they look and how they interact with the environment. So I can't give an answer right now, but just look forward to it.
Awesome. All right. So next one is from Retro Nutcase, and he asks, can we expect to see any abilities or Easter eggs that act as nods to Castlevania, or as close to as they can, rather, without going into copyright infringements, such as classic Castlevania sub-weapons like the Cross, Holy Water, or Symphony's best sword ever, the Chrysogram Valmanway? And I'll answer that ahead of time. I've asked the same thing, I think, twice in official capacity already, and they're kind of trying to avoid that, but I'll let Angel say.
Yeah, and I mean that makes sense really if you think about it, because at the end of the day, Bloodstained is going to be a spiritual successor. It's not going to be a Castlevania version XYZ, if you know what I mean. They're building a completely just. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go into a gush mode because otherwise it'll sound like I'm trying to sell the game. But it's a
Well, that's
completely
okay.
new IP.
That's okay to do. We're fans. We want to hear that. So gush away.
Right. All right. Well, let's just say that expectations out of the water. Let's just put it that way. It looks amazing. It plays amazing. There's so many things about it that we haven't even talked about that people don't even know to ask about yet. So all I'll say is that are justly it's human nature to say, oh well, are there gonna be all these callbacks? And yeah, there's gonna be like that feeling, and it's like I said, a spiritual successor, so you're gonna get that regardless. But you're gonna be so just entrenched in all the new things that you're probably not even going to be bothering to think, oh well, what about that XYZ thing that I saw in Castlevania 3 or whatever.
Yeah, got you. And I would actually answer in addition to that, Retro Nutcase. If you don't mind, you could watch that last Ask Iga video where I asked almost the same question, and he actually gave an answer where there's not sub weapons, but there's almost something kind of like an analog to that. There's different abilities and skills that she's going to have, which may be reminiscent to that. And he's aware that people want those types of things. They just can't use them as direct one-to-ones.
Right.
So the next question is from Zero Star, and he's asking, and I know the answer to this one too, but he asks, is the character shader final? Is there a chance we could have options between character shaders in the settings? He asks because he personally didn't like the black outline around characters. It makes the game characters look like Who Framed Roger Rabbit to him.
I gotcha. Well, to answer the first part of the question, all the development is still work in progress, of course. That's, very official and confirmed. So don't ever look at anything and say, oh, I hate that, it's never going to change, so I'm going to hate the game. And don't have the other reaction either. Don't see something and say, oh my God, that's amazing, and, that's going to be how it is forever. But I will say to the other part of that question, the second part, that we're definitely aware of, and let's just say that Igarashi-san is aware.
All right, awesome. So the next one I have here is from, I don't know how to say this guy's name. It's Cyrisszeal, Cyrisszeal. He asks, if there are leaderboards for the game, will they be properly policed?
I'm sorry, I seem to have got disconnected there. Can you repeat that?
He's asking about, so it was mentioned earlier there would be leaderboards for the game, and he's asking, will they be properly policed? I guess he's worried about, cheaters and boosting and stuff.
Oh, sure. Well, we haven't really formalized an announcement for leaderboards and everything when it comes to things like that, but we're definitely going to be looking to make sure that the integrity of those sort of things remains intact, because no one enjoys working and doing their best to achieve something in the game, get an amazing score, and then you go online and there's Troll 7XY7 and he's got a score of 9 bajillion. So you can count on us doing what's necessary when it comes to that.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because it is really lame. It kind of kills your the people putting forth an honest effort when they see stuff like that.
Definitely. So and I've run into that myself too. I played a game called Seraph, again, a game like with angelic stuff, and I'll never forget it. I was practicing and practicing and finally got the speedrun level done. And you'll know how big of a deal that is for me because I mentioned I suck at speedruns. And then I finally get there. I beat the #1 score, at least the one that I had remembered from before. And then I go to the leaderboard, and there's some obnoxious name with some crazy number, and I was just like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. And as much as I play fighting games, I mean, you see that kind of thing way, way too much, especially, boosting where they just, have someone like a dummy account on the other end and they just, bump their score up. But so last question I've got here is from Sunraiser, and then I'll pass it over to Mike, see if he's got anything. And Sun is asking, what about the achievement and trophy system? How's that coming along?
That's probably a question better suited to the dev team. I don't have any bad news to give about that, so that's good news. Everything, it's just, add that to everything else that they're working on and is coming along smoothly, and we'll definitely be talking about, so you can look forward to it, but no bad news, so you can rest easy.
Oh, this just popped up right now. Bloody Tears 92 asks, can you speak at all to the staggered content situation? Is that still a thing, or are they still deciding?
We're still kind of in the process of officially responding to that, but yeah, you'll be. All I can say right now is I know that sort of issue will definitely have made some people worry or have concerns. All I can say right now is don't worry about it, and an official announcement will be coming about that pretty soon.
All right, excellent. You want me to grab some Twitch questions, Mike, or you got those?
If you could, that'd be great. I can only see the ones that are currently on the screen. So if I click over there, it'll mess up the overlay. And
I think your mic is cutting out anyway, so it might be better.
Yeah, it seems like Mike has some issues. I can just grab one here. There's from Optunot. How do loading times differ between consoles and performance in general? Obviously, that's something that's going to be coming out further down the line, but really rest assured that we're looking to give a universal experience when it comes to frame rate, when it comes to performance, loading times, everything. We're looking to make sure that no matter what platform you want to play the game on, it's going to be great no matter what. So you don't have to worry about expecting or running into some situation where on PS4 it's a loading time that's super long, but on Xbox One there's like a low frame rate or whatever. It's going to be not to turn into a meme lord again, but it's going to be tight.
Okay, so Eat It Up 86 asked earlier in the Twitch chat, will we be able to stream the alpha or the beta on Twitch?
That's a good question, and I don't announcement about that, but I wouldn't imagine there being a no for that, because it'd be kind of an antagonistic view to take, I think. But we'll definitely have an official announcement for that, and kind of have like rule sets or whatever you want to call it. But generally speaking, I would expect just to have whatever comes in the alpha and then subsequent beta to be already kind of packaged to limit things that the team doesn't want being shown yet. So I wouldn't worry about getting the alpha and then going on YouTube and seeing the final cutscene of the game or whatever.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so Dan from Umbrella has an interesting question here. So he's wondering about the pure Miriam outfit. How would that be acquired? Is it something you find in the castle if it's unlocked outside of the main game, or do you have any information on that? So
it's one of my favorite things. It's I have the concept art on one of my screens at work, and answer the question. So thank you for the question.
Is that all you got?
Yeah. it's one of those things where it's like, I wish I could talk about it, but unfortunately, it's beautiful and it's really just amazing, but I can't talk about how you get it or where you get it. That's one of the things that's it's part of the joy and pleasure of getting the game and playing it, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right. So so VivTech is asking, will there be like a compendium or a bestiary for all the monsters and the items and the stats and things like that?
So the player menu and the basically what you bring up to look at your gear and everything like that. There's a lot of work going into what's going to be shown and what's going to be accessible from there, and even how you interact with the game from there. So I wish I could talk about the possibility of that and other things, but since it kind of falls into that realm of what I mentioned before of things that people might not expect or even think to ask about, I'm just gonna have to pass on that one for now.
All right, so I noticed one from Sunraiser here in the chat. She was asking, speaking of load times, have there been any difficulties faced in the Switch port in particular regarding the different resolutions between handheld mode and TV console mode?
Wow, that's an excellent question, but that's one of those technical questions that's best reserved for the dev team, definitely.
Yeah, I remember someone asking earlier. I don't remember if it was in the forum or where it was, but someone was curious about how the progress on the Vita version is going, and I'm curious myself if Armature is working on the Vita and the Switch version or just the Vita.
So progress on the Vita version is, going fine. We talked about it the other day with my producer and the ArtPlay team. As far as what roles and what kind of bleed over there is with Armature and everything, again, I'm gonna have to let the dev team defer to that, just because it's one of those things that they've got their kind of finger on the pulse, so to speak, and might say one thing because of something I know from a few days or a week ago, and that'll be wrong and like someone that's lying. So,
Are we all caught up on questions?
I think we might be. I'm scanning the Twitch chat and the Discord, and I don't see any more right now.
Darkstar Key says, will the game have little references to older movies, like in Iga's earlier work? I guess that's like Hammer horror films or something. I hope that we get some classic monsters in there. Do you know of any classic monsters?
Well, all I can say is that there's a reason we all love Igarashi-san and his games, and if you've grown accustomed or there are things that you expect, I would temper your expectations in saying that it might not be exactly what you expected, but there'll be definitely things in the game that kind of speak to that spirit and that creation that comes from Igarashi. So, yeah.
I have a question myself I just thought of. Will we know what the other playable characters are ahead of time, or will it be like the old days where we find out once we get the game and we beat the game and we unlock them?
That's one of the things that I'm actually going to talk to Igarashi-san about next week when we have some really intense shop meetings. But yeah, it's something that's literally in the process of being discussed and approved. So we know how exciting that is, because I know, and people say how exciting it is. So we're definitely trying to again straddle that line where we tease stuff and we kind of hold stuff back for the best impact, but at the same time we don't sacrifice the feeling of cool secrets and cool things that you find out later just by playing the game. So it's basically one of those things where we don't want to sacrifice the spirit and quality of the game just so we can have flashier marketing or whatever. But yeah, I'll be able to give you a more definite answer in the future.
That's great, because it's actually an interesting situation how the games are these days. Like back in the late '90s, we had such little access to information back then. No one ever knew anything about the inverted castle unless you had a friend or you had some kind of inside information from some obscure game mag or something. But now it's so hard to recapture those types of those discoveries and that feeling you got of knowing something special. Like now everyone knows everything immediately. Like a lot of times people watch YouTube playthroughs of games before they even get them. So it's really hard to recapture that feeling and unlocking something new and not expecting it. And I'd really like to see that again from Castlevania. So that's important to me personally too. So we have another one from Twitch chat here, and this one's pretty funny. What's an example of something? Let me get this guy's name. Hold on.
Kaibak Kismet.
Kaibak Kismet. What's an example of something that we're not even thinking to ask the right questions about?
Oh boy, that's All right.
It's not even fair, right?
That's yeah. I mean, I don't even I don't even know how I can answer that one. Wow. All right. No. Okay. All right. I can answer that with an equally dastardly answer. I can't give a black and white answer. Um, I'll say that's something that you're not even thinking of of asking about is related to movements in the game and how people are worried about being too slow or being too fast or not fast enough or whatever. So yeah, there's yeah, that's all I'll say.
Okay, and I saw one earlier here in the Discord chat. Retro Nutcase asked another one, and this is I think we could answer this with the crafting system, but he's asking about the whip sword. He's asking if it's going to be viable for the entire playthrough. You'd hate to see it be a typical pre-order weapon that's only like good at the very beginning and it gets bad later.
Yeah, no, I hate when that happens. So yeah, it's definitely let's just say that the things that you'll be getting in the game, various exclusive little Kickstarter rewards and stuff, you won't have to worry about something being just in general, not just the Kickstarter rewards. You won't have to worry about something being the have to use meta sort of thing. Like that's not what Igarashi-san is creating. He's not making a one size fits all. Everyone is going to look this way and play this way by the end of the game, and that's that sort of deal.
Could you answer me this? Is something I've thought of as well. Is Ippo Yamada-san, is he still working for the music of the game? Because we haven't heard anything from him since like the Kickstarter snippet of that one song.
Sure. I haven't asked or inquired specifically, but I can definitely add that to my list of things to confirm and sure. And really, I think it's one of those things that's gonna just answer itself once we start really, like I mentioned, ramping up communication and featuring things that people really want to hear and see, like the music. Like I wish there was more music to talk about already, but once it comes out there, people are going to be really, let's just say, surprised.
So that's good to hear, man. So John Conley asks, and I can answer half of this myself, I think. He's wondering if the PS4 and Vita will have cross-save and or cross-buy. And cross-save might be possible, but not cross-buy, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect cross-buy to happen. Cross-save, I think I have to check because it's in the design docs, but again, it's one of those things that'll be officially confirmed and kind of spelled out later on, but yeah, I wouldn't expect for there to be.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Dan from Umbrella is asking, let's see. He's asking if enemies drop rare weapons, or if it's more rare materials that they drop, or is it kind of a mix of both?
Why not both?
Yeah, probably both. Yeah.
I have a tougher question.
And sure, go ahead.
So, in the past, we've seen quite a few crazy threads talking about some of the assets for the females. And
sure.
From a publisher's standpoint, do you see any problems marketing when you have Vipar as a boss who has large breasts, people talking about Miriam's breast size, people talking about Dominique and her breast size, and people talking about Bloodless and how she, loses clothes when you beat her up? Like, all of these things could easily be attacked by back in the day when Mortal Kombat had to be censored on Super Nintendo, their blood becomes sweats and all that stuff. I'm sure that publishers have to think about those kinds of things and how it's marketed. So are these challenges for you? Are you just wanting Iga to, just do his thing and we'll handle it as it comes? Or, what's the whole paradigm around that from 505's perspective?
Sure. So there are two parts to that. The first part, as far as us being worried about something, the only thing we worry about, if you can even call it worry, is how something is going to be rated by the ESRB. we are just kind of conscious of that. We don't, if something happens and it affects the ESRB, it's not like we automatically go, oh, we got to cut that or whatever. But it's just something we keep in mind and work with the developer to make sure that we're staying in the rating that they want, really, that we want, that all of us want for the game. As far as like eventual controversies or whatever, we don't have really like an official policy on it or whatever, but it really falls back to what I was talking about before, where Igarashi-san is the game master. He has a vision for the game. There's a reason for things to be the way they are, and there's honestly, I mean, now this is just me personally speaking, but there's honestly nothing wrong with having a character that maybe has more sex appeal or a character that has a different body type or whatever. The main kind of real takeaway, if you will, is just that the main focus for us is making sure that Igarashi-san's vision comes through as much as possible and as authentically as possible. We're not going to be, if tomorrow you see a forum thread from someone that's offended because Miriam has gray hair on the skin and, that means she looks old or whatever, that's not something that we're going to look at and say, oh, well, such and such user is offended, so we have to tell Igarashi-san he has to change the game. That's not what we're about.
I think that's a very fair answer. Those things are important to people. We have a female lead, which a lot of people were really happy with. Iga said that he actually started with a male character in mind for Bloodstained and switched
Right.
because he was advised to during the Kickstarter because it would do better, and that was part of the current conversation in the climate. So just seeing, Iga making that decision and stuff, I can see that this game will have that conversation surrounding it. If it doesn't now already,
Right.
it will eventually. So
And I'll even go further than that and say that everything that I've seen in the game, whether it's a character, whether it's Miriam herself or the boss or whoever, there's always a reason, artistically speaking, for that character, for that item, whatever it may be, to be the way it is. There's no kind of cheap thrills, if you want to call it that way. There's no cheap fan service where we're just trying to Iga, my boy, you got to make it sexier so we can sell more copies. That's just that's not what it is at all. Igarashi-san is just really applying his vision and all of that kind of mythos from the dark gothic fantasy world and combining that to really make a coherently artistic video game. So I hope that'll kind of assuage anyone's fears that either on the one side that we would try to exploit sexuality, or on the one side or on the other side that we would go to Igarashi-san and say, oh no, you can't do that, that's such and such person is gonna not like that. So
well, you certainly can't please everyone, so I can guarantee you that some people will not be happy,
Right.
and probably from both sides of the conversation, you're going to find people that just aren't completely happy with what goes on. But I gotta say, like, I really love Miriam's character design. I think that she has that black and blue kind of outfit by default that looks very like Belmont kind of.
her outfit is amazing,
Right, and
like the more you look at it, it's just, oh my gosh.
Right, and I'm not like a huge fan of Lolita cosplays and stuff like that, but I just think that she looks really cool. And the whole idea of the crystal curse infecting and spreading on her body, like these crystals on her skin, they look like beautiful tattoos or something. And the way it changes her hair color, so that kind of like ombre look, and even like her little horns on the tiara that she starts out with, all of these things I think are just perfect. And her character design was just very catching for me during the Kickstarter. And this wasn't because I had a preference for playing male or female characters. I just really think that she is a good character regardless of gender. She's an interesting character that you want to know more about. Oh yeah, and Zangetsu too. Enkeria just posted a picture in the Discord chat of Zangetsu's design. And for those that want to play a male, I hope that he's a playable character because he looks really badass.
So, but to talk about the first part of what you were saying, really it's just, and I know I'm biased, probably all of us are biased, but the outfits, the hair, the expressions, the items that they use, and how they pose them, whether it's Miriam or even other characters, but especially Miriam, everything is just so meticulously planned out, and you can tell that someone really just poured their heart and soul into creating this character. And regardless of gender, regardless of body dimensions or whatever you want to talk about, that's really what makes an amazing character. And I mean, when I was talking about before, like when I look at Miriam, the more you look at her outfit, the more you look at the details, how it looks like a dress, but it's actually like I don't know what they're called, but it's like shorts for like under the dress, and how she's kind of wearing armor but isn't really. It's just all like coming together, and it's like a screensaver, like the more you look at it and you're appreciating it, the more you find things to look at and kind of analyze.
Yes.
So I've got a question here from Sunraiser that's and no comment is always a valid answer. Just to remind you, man. So you don't have to cover these things if you don't want to. But she's asking, if Miriam succumbs to the crystal curse, is that like is it like a game over, or does it just make her evil Miriam and she needs to seek out redemption or healing? Or better phrase, like actually, do you notice the curse having in-game effects, and does the curse eventually like overtake her?
Oh boy. Well, those are excellent questions, and I thank I thank you for those questions. But like you mentioned before, no comment at this time.
Yeah, I don't even want to know, to be honest with you. So
yeah, it's one of those things where you really, it falls into the category of things that when you play the game, there's going to be a lot of elements and a lot of both big and small features that just kind of leave you, I don't want to say speechless because that's maybe an exaggeration, but leave you like really a little bit in awe and just kind of like, observing and appreciating it. So I'll just leave it for the dev team and for the game itself when it comes.
Darkstar Key is asking the important questions here. What is a man?
No.
It's a miserable little pile of secrets. I think we all know what a man is.
Yeah. But is that but is that enough talk, or do we have some more questions coming? What do you guys think?
Enough talk. How about you?
Actually, I'm going to get to this one. I don't know if Angel will get answered or not, but Opt2Not asked a while back in the Twitch chat, will there be a news channel for the Switch version, like how in some games they have like a news reports from community managers that populate inside the game or the Switch channel?
Oh yeah, that's I can't answer that right now, but that's going to be kind of part of what I answered before about Switch functionality and things that we're going to be talking about that are specifically just for Switch. I will say though that to feel left out just because they bought Bloodstained on one platform versus another. So don't expect to be feeling got the inferior version, so to speak.
That's great. Yeah. One thing that some people were concerned about was like the perceived graphical inferiority of like the weaker consoles, like the Vita or the Switch. But I don't think we need to have much worry about that.
Oh, you don't. Graphical fidelity, performance, again, that kind of general catch-all of the quality bar. That's really one of Igarashi-san's biggest kind of not concerns, that's the wrong word, areas of focus. That's, quality is everything to him, and therefore it's everything to us.
Darky also says, how tough will the game be at its toughest difficulty? Well, we did unlock Nightmare Mode as a Kickstarter goal, so it'll be nightmarishly difficult.
Yes, I am very excited for Nightmare Mode. I'm not trying to sound like a get good scrub elitist, but I am pretty sure that people are going to be very happy with it.
Kai Brightwing says, is there going to be another demo to play? And I think alpha access is on the horizon somewhere, so I think we'll learn about that soon.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be different builds of the game, and I wouldn't worry too much about when a certain demo or a certain version of it will be coming out, just because I know it might seem like recently things have been relatively quiet or slower to be revealed or whatever, but there's a very good reason for that, and the reason is that we're enacting plans that are very specifically built to reveal things in the most exciting way and the most consistent way. We don't want to kind of just dump everything on the community and be like, all right, see you in 6 months. Don't forget about us. Be sure to buy the game.
Right. And along with the release of information, the voice actors, English voice actors, Japanese voice actors, all that stuff will be revealed in time. But can we at least confirm that David Hayter's still on board with the project and Robbie Belgrade?
There's no like I said before, but I'll say it again. If anything has been confirmed as a feature of the game, unless there's been an official announcement that says that something had to be cut, and we would obviously explain why and hope compensate for that later. But yeah, there's no reason to think that Hayter is not working on the game.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm sure that's reassuring. There was that whole strike, so everyone was wondering if that would affect him or not. But
sure.
Yes.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Another sequence breaking question. We tried to answer that earlier. I was not the best person to do so, but we did kind of cover that. Did anyone else have any other questions? We're about to run up on our 2-hour mark.
Yeah, it looks like we've got about 10 minutes left if anyone wants to. Enkeria is posting a picture. Any news on this? Wow, I can't say that I've seen that before. I'm going to pretend I never saw that and that I still haven't seen that.
What's interesting about that boss is it was described as using crescent moon-shaped sickles as projectiles. And when I saw that, I thought, hey, that sounds like Death's sickles when you're fighting him in a classic Castlevania game. So
yeah,
I don't know if this...
their head, though. There's like the moon-shaped sickle there. I bet they're shaped more like that.
Well, I can't talk about that picture, but I can say that part of my job involves me looking through concept art and builds and everything like that. So some of the things that I see are just like, and keep in mind that I have all the Dark Souls art books. I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. Played lots of other games that are, kind of in the same theme and spirit at least. And I still look at some of the concept art and I'm just thinking to myself, what in the world am I looking at? And in the good way, not the bad way. I'm like, just completely just flabbergasted. And just my anticipation levels just go through the roof, and then I go into that whole dark place of, do I keep my job or do I just spoil everything? So, yeah.
Yeah, keep your job, man. We want to keep you around. You've been so great for the community. We really enjoy having you here. So,
thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Actually,
for coming on
not to pander or anything, but since you mentioned that, I wanted to take a minute and thank you, Mike, and thank you, Brent, and everyone really. Not only the amazing mods, and no matter where you are, whether it's here on Discord, the forums, Reddit, all of the people that volunteer, the fans that just make amazing things. I mean, I've whether it's music, arts, graphics, I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing to see the level of passion and dedication from everyone.
Well, hey, we're just fans too, but yeah, it's great because, we're in it together and we really feed off each other's energy. I love when I see new new fan art or, some new music cover. It's just excellent the way we see this stuff going. Sunraiser had recently broken her arm, and she's got bloodstained flowers.
Yeah, that looks amazing
on her cast. And then I saw a new question here from Gunlord asking to talk more about Deco.
Sure, yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's regarding Deco as far as amazing, cool things they're working on because they're leading the development effort now, and I can't talk too much just because if I start talking, it'll easily go into drifting into spoiler territory. But I can say that working with them is a pleasure, and literally whether it's my producer or me, and making sure that we're all communicating and jiving on the same page. It's just and I know it's gonna sound like I'm just PRing, but it's just a very happy partnership. It's a very fruitful one, and we're all just really kind of chugging along and geeking out and trying to do our best to make sure that everyone else loves everything that we're working on as much as we.
Hey, Mana's in the chat. Everybody
Yeah,
say hi to Mana.
is she in the room?
Hey, Mana.
I don't see her in the voice room. Is she in here?
I don't think she's in the voice room, but I see her online. Yeah.
I would love to have her, jump in and add her voice.
Be the secret surprise boss.
She is. She's the secret boss. It's she hops in the Discord sometimes. It's good to see her there and on Shoutbox and the forums and stuff. So, oh, she's watching through Twitch. Okay.
Oh my.
Well, if you have a microphone and you want to join in the conversation, you're more than welcome, of course. But yes, hi, Mana. We were talking about you earlier.
Yeah, we were. I'll sneak in this question from Crocodile here, and he's asking if Angel's familiar with the anime Outlaw Star. He's asking because he wonders if the bullets Miriam will use in her guns, if you have to buy them or make them, if they have special properties and abilities, and a comparison could be like the guns Albus used in Order of Ecclesia.
That's an awesome question, Crocodile, and I will tell you that I have seen Outlaw Star, and I loved it. It was really, really great. Answer your question and give you a satisfaction for the guns, but I can tell you that that ties into another question I've seen, I don't remember where now, where someone was asking why haven't we seen anything about the guns in the E3 build, etc. And there's a reason for that. Because guns are amazing and awesome, and it's going to be a big deal when we show them off, and you should definitely look forward to it. So I'm sorry,
Nice.
That's the super tease, but
Well, someone mentioned Outlaw Star. I just got to say the intro and the outro music for that is my favorite Japanese music of all time. So I love that Outlaw Star music.
Absolutely great.
Oh man, Mana would join us, but she said the team's having a heated discussion behind her. I wish I could be a fly on that wall and know Japanese.
Yeah, that's my one great regret that I haven't, because I started studying Japanese a while back, but recently, for obvious reasons, I've been picking that up much more intensively. But unfortunately, I'm nowhere near proficient enough yet to have a conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to learn myself. My wife actually knows some conversational Japanese, and we're actually interested on taking like a trip to Japan, like an extended stay. Maybe live there for a while eventually, but that's just a dream for the future.
Sure.
But enough about me.
So speaking of Mana and The Office, her last post on the forum actually was that Adi Shankar stopped by briefly at Artplay.
Yeah, that is so cool. I don't
so
think that
I'm looking forward
to.
to. Yeah, they didn't have much time, but here's hoping for Bloodstained Anime 2026.
Man, that would be amazing. Yes.
Yeah. So all I'll say is that I love anime, and I'm sure that's true for at least most, if not all of us that are here on the Discord and on Twitch and everything. But there are so many projects that I would love to see become a reality based on Bloodstained, based off of Igarashi-san's vision. So let's just hope that happens. That what we believe in, that the project, that the Bloodstained is going to be as successful as we all know it's going to be, and that just barrel rolls into the future.
I think it will.
Do a barrel roll. Anyways, but it's so nice to see everybody here that's in the Discord and the Twitch. It's the first live show that we've really recorded. We've done a Discord thing before, but it was nothing that was advertised, so it was a little bit more personal. But seeing so many people live together like this, it reminds me of the Kickstarter days when we were all watching the live streams and stuff, and we would be in Twitch chat. But yeah, all of that was super exciting, and it's good to get a little bit part of that back. Having the community.
And I'll say even more to everyone that's here, to everyone that might catch the video later on. This is just the literal tip of the iceberg. Like, we're at the very beginning of what's going to be the kind of, stereotype up graph that you see in the business room. There's going to be a lot more engagement, a lot more media, a lot more news coming out, and a lot more people are going to be coming to the forums, to the social platforms, to Discord. So I would really recommend that everyone that's here that gets to watch the video enjoys this kind of close-knit environment as long as it lasts, because I know I'm biased, again, but for as successful as Bloodstained I believe is going to be, I'm pretty sure that all these channels are going to blow up, and it's just going to be like nonstop people chatting and talking. So enjoy the cozy fireplace while it lasts, because pretty soon it's going to be a bit bigger.
Well, let's blow it up, man. The more the merrier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we love people that like the same things you do. That's what this community is all about. We all love Iga. We all love his previous games. We all love Bloodstained, and just all of the creators that have worked with him, the art, the music. It's all just so awesome to have people that like the same stuff you do and share a hobby and a passion with people. But I think this is a good place to wrap it up. If anyone had any other questions, last minute stuff, if not, then we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been a great first run, and I just want to thank again everyone for their questions, for their passion. I want to thank the team in Japan, Artplay and Deco. They're all working their heads off. Let's use a nice euphemism to make sure that we all get an amazing game. And look forward to a lot of surprises, even when it comes to community engagement. We're going to have, at least we're planning on having, some surprise guests and people that you wouldn't expect come online and talk to you and get you the straight from the horse's mouth perspective.
Awesome. That is it's got me hyped. I am ready. So bring them on. Bring on the masses, and bring on all of the surprise guests. It's going to be great.
And most of all, I'm sure I'm very hesitant, because I don't want to appear to be like a sycophant, but a big, enormous thank you. I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone when I say a huge, enormous, galactic level thank you to Igarashi-san for doing all the work and really just making all those decisions that had to be made to get us here to where we are today. And it's really just something that I think all of us are going to be forever grateful for.
Yeah, it took a lot of courage to step out of the career that he had, to break out on his own, go independent,
Definitely.
and push for his passion project. So yeah, we all just want to show him the most support we can, and we eternally are grateful to Iga for the things he's already given us, and for whatever he brings to us in the future.
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, and definitely a culturally challenging thing for him to do that too. In Japan, it's not quite as common as it is in America to do something like that. So very, very brave, and very thankful indeed. And
absolutely.
Thank you, Angel, from me too. I really appreciate it, man.
No, it's my pleasure. I mean, it's been lots of fun, and for everyone watching and listening, I hang out on Discord a lot, and I'm online a lot. So feel free to pop in and message me or say hello, send me a friend request, whatever. I look forward to talking to you.
Right, and let's go ahead and plug the forums, bloodstainedfanforums.com. You can join the Discord at the bottom of that. We have our new Twitch channel, that's bloodstained_ROTN_official. At Sorter Whip is Twitter. You can find the Facebook page. There's an official Facebook page. There's several great communities out there. You have the Reddit community. You have several groups on Facebook that are really nice to join. Operation Akamajo is a nice page, but there's also Bloodstained Orphan. Miriam, the Bloodstained Orphan's a great fan page, and there's also a group out there that's nice to join. And all of the Castlevania Dungeon folks, they're big fans of Iga too, so you can find fans there. There's even an Amiibo, if you know what Amiibo is. Not Amiibo, Amino.
Amino.
What is that? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Amino, A-M-I-N-O, like the amino acids.
Amino, like amino. Yeah, I was like, it's okay. Anyways, yes, there's even that out there. So there's all sorts of communities. The Tumblr, everything. There's all sorts of stuff out there, and if you have art that you want to share, bring it to the forum too, because we collect it there in a gallery. If you have music to share, bring it to the forum, man. We have a lot of collection there, and I keep a YouTube playlist, anything that I could find from the fandom, and put that music in there. I do that. So just connect, keep creating, keep your passion up, and I will see everybody on the forums. Thanks for joining us. Once again, special thanks to Angel. you're great to have, man. You've brought a lot of energy to the fandom. So thank you so much for conversing with us. And you're of course more than welcome to do this whenever you want. Just let me know. We'll get it going. And thanks to Brent too for fielding questions, and Enkeria for organizing some questions and consolidating them. But yeah, love you all. Thank you for showing up, and we will see you on the forums and talk to you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.